wasn't, I've already forgotten what it was.
You are all those jokes.
Just a little after. Except to go to California, it was a function.
I've learned the secret there, just run through it mentally before nothing more irritating than
Yeah. My father died, that's where I got the function. On this long.
line set up and then
Yeah. Either that or nothing. Start out with the branch line and then halfway through.
no.
Yeah, wait, let's go back. Yeah.
Well, it looks close enough to the time that we can stand up and do the pledge and then probably move on. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now we can call March 8, 2016 council meeting to order. All council members present with the exception of Mr. Hankey. Administrator Balsing, Engineer Ryan, and representing the City Attorney's Office, Melissa Mandershine. Apparently Scott had a special meeting somewhere else he had to attend tonight.
Well, I ran wrong.
Whatever.
He said this.
You're here, that's good enough. Citizen comments. Do you have anybody that wants to address the council on anything that's not already on the agenda? No, apparently there are none, so do we have a motion to, or are there any further additions or corrections to the agenda? Nothing more? Motion to adopt the agenda then, as amended? Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Consent agenda. Do we want anything removed from that, or do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda as printed?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Moving right along, no presentations, public hearings, etc. So we can go to item 7, engineering. I believe we're all aware of the 16 bids received on that First Street reconstruction project, and Hazelton Faribault was the low bidder. Any comment, discussion?
Are we going to go along with the alternative?
Yes.
Clear?
So the only clarification we put in the resolution.
That is on the resolution,
I
yes.
see it. You heard that, everybody
I did have a memo in the packet that pretty thoroughly explained the results of the bids, and that the bids came very favorable compared to our estimates.
Very good, very good.
Any questions on the memo, I'd be very glad to answer them.
And if there are none, then I would entertain a motion to accept, move with resolution 2016-07, resolution accepting bid on First Street improvement project.
I feel thoroughly entertaining, so I'll go with that motion.
We're making the motion.
Yes.
Just bring up one thing.
Yes.
In the resolution, it does have Hazelton in there twice. Number 1 and number 6.
Or did I move that up? I'll fix it.
I I think it's supposed to be
RAW.
RAW.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
That's supposed to be wrong.
I see, yes, in the list of bids, you got the wrong name, but the bid amounts are correct.
Yeah.
So we have a motion for resolution 2016-07. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now with good weather, we'll have that road, street, I should say, done well before Rose Fest.
Correct. We'll inform the contractor of the council's action tonight. We'll get the contract documents prepared and off to them for them to review and fill out their parts. They'll send it back to the city attorney for review, and then they'll come back here for the signature by the mayor and the administrator. And from that point, then we can schedule the preparatory meetings, and then we can get started with the construction as soon as the frost is out of the ground and road restrictions are lifted.
With the weather we've had so far and the trend going forward, that should be soon.
Yeah, typically it's between May 1st, May 15th, but this year it looks like it's going to be ahead of that, so hopefully that'll give us an early start.
Which is great because we never know what the weather might throw us later on.
Correct.
Update on the fire facility project.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can give a brief update on the fire facility. We had a second plan review meeting just this afternoon to review the status of the construction documents that are being prepared. The plans, we would state that they're about 90 to 95% complete. We had a very good meeting this afternoon with staff, got some comments that we can incorporate into the plans. We anticipate the plans will be completed sometime within the next week, and we'll be ready then to submit to the architect who represents the USDA for his review to make sure they comply with the USDA requirements. And so that'll be the next step in that process for the plan review. We anticipate his plan review will probably take about a month, and then he'll come back with his sign off on the plans. At that time, we can sit down with the full council in a work session type setting and go through the documents sheet by sheet so council understands the plans, and then they would be able to be considered for approval by the city council.
Good. Glad that we are moving forward on this project. It's been a long road. And there being nothing under legal, we can move on to old business. Review request for proposals on garbage service. We have 7 proposals, and did have a work session where we went over the proposals.
Based on that work session, I would like to suggest that we go with Gibson.
You are making a motion.
I'm
to
making a
accept.
motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Gibson, we accept Gibson's proposal. And items B, update on First Street project financing for George.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council, for the street project financing. As your engineer just detailed, the good bids received. In your packets, there's a resolution relating to the financing for the getting the project financed. This is a resolution to enter into the State of Minnesota Credit Enhancement Program for utility-related projects. This is, of course, a sewer-related project with street restoration costs. And so tonight, you're not issuing the debt, but this is kind of step one. This is a very nice program the state has. It allows communities like Kenyon to access a credit enhancement program that allows the state of Minnesota's bond rating, which is AA+, to be placed on your bond issue. The city currently has an underlying rating of A3, and so you're taking that rating then for for this project financing up a full category and all the way up to, like I say, the AA+ category. And let me see this. One of the benefits of this enhancement program is to the investor or the purchaser of a bond that the city sells, there's the guarantee of the return of principal and interest on their investment. The state of Minnesota will stand behind the city's bond issues, so they're willing to accept a lower interest rate. So that's the benefit to the city, is you're able to borrow money at lower interest rates. So just as a quick, what's the benefit to the city? I've run some numbers for the city over a 20-year financing term and a 25-year financing term. Being able to access AA+ interest rates allows you to borrow at almost 0.5% lower over the life of the bonds. And so what that results in is, on a 20-year financing term, about $28,000 less of interest cost, and on a 25-year term, approximately $36,000 in interest cost reduction to the city. So a nice savings for a relatively small cost of issuance. You do have to pay a program fee of $500 to enter into the program, as well as a rating fee, which is approximately $5,700. But again, that benefit, the interest cost reduction, far outweighs that cost. Mayor or council, any questions on this resolution?
No.
Okay. And just from an overall timing perspective, we're looking at, in talking with your engineer, on when would the first invoice for work be presented to the city. I believe, and Joe, maybe you can speak to this as well, but I believe in work to begin in late April.
Yeah, we anticipate work begins, say, approximately May 1st. Excuse me, they probably won't have enough work done where we would have a pay request come to the city council at the regular meeting in May. So we anticipate the first payment would be made at the regular meeting in June.
So city council, with that timing, we'd be looking at a resolution in front of you at your May city council meeting. That's when you would approve the sale of bonds that would provide you with bond proceeds in the month of June. So again, this is just a step tonight, this resolution allowing you to enter into that credit enhancement program.
So at what point do we decide on the term? Is that, because we have 20 and 25 years, I'm guessing just based on the numbers, there's not that much difference, that we would probably be better off with it 20 years.
Yeah, that's a council decision. Certainly you can take another month if you'd like. What we'll do, city council, is work on getting a bond offering document put together, getting market values, getting cash and investment balances, employer information, etc., put together in an offering document that is presented to investors when the bonds are sold. So you've got a little bit of time to figure out, do we like a 20-year term or a 25-year term? And then certainly Mark alluded to a spreadsheet that I put together that I believe is in your packets that shows for this project, part of it is being assessed to benefiting property owners and the balance to be paid for on levy. So that spreadsheet shows you the approximate city cost related to that project. And as Mark indicated, not a big difference, so maybe a 20-year term could certainly be a benefit. It helps drive down the interest rate a little bit more too.
Is that?
I think shorter.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, shorter is better as long as you service the debt.
Mhm.
Just information right now.
Yeah, and again, Mayor, Council, the only action tonight would be considering that resolution to enter into the enhancement program.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the next item, as he said, we'll be considering resolution 2023-04, 2016-08 relating to issuance of general obligation improvement bond series 2016A, covenanting and obligating the city to be bound by and to use provisions of Minnesota statutes, section 446A .086. And we need a motion to proceed with that.
I will make that motion. What I've got on the agenda is 2016.06.
That is an error. If you look farther down, you'll see that 2016-06 is in support of Rochester Regional Airport bonding bill. I noticed that error too and just checked through there. Made that correction, otherwise I would have read it in error.
All right, well, I will still make the motion, but with 08 being the
Yes.
resolution.
You have a second?
Second.
In favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. Next item, Chief Scholander was to be here.
He's gonna present it next meeting.
Pardon me?
He's gonna be presenting next meeting.
So we can pass on that. Both the Second Street parking issue and the update on officer hire. We will be here at our April meeting.
Correct.
The officer hiring, this is just an update. I mean, the first rounds of interviews were held last week. 10 applicants were interviewed. The second round of interviews is being held March 10th. There'll be 5 semifinalists interviewed. And then hopefully after that, the personnel committee can have a finalist identified. Whether that person comes for the April meeting or is ready to be presented after the backgrounding and all that stuff, we'll have to see. But at least we'll know by the April meeting there should be a finalist identified. So.
All right. So we move on to new business. And the first item being resolution 2016-06. Resolution in support of the 2016 Rochester Regional Airport bonding bill. City of Rochester is requesting area communities pass this resolution in support of the capital bonding request to make improvements to the Homeland Security area of the airport. And thankfully, they will be doing the bonding and not us. And I believe we do need to support that upgrade in the regional airport. It is important to the area. We have a motion in support of resolution 2016-06.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B, approve appointment of Ethan Eggert to the fire department.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ethan's on board. Item C, approve appointment of Keith St. John to the Park and Recreation Committee. And since I recruited her, I will make the motion that we approve that.
And I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item D, Fire Facility Project U.S. Rural Development Financing Application. We have 2 separate resolutions here. 2016-09, authorizing $2,450,000 general obligation bond issued. Resolution 2016-10, authorizing a $450,000 bond issue secured through a promissory note. sure we need to do separate resolution, separate votes for each resolution.
So, Lori Bellotta from Rural Development was gonna come at 7:30, because she had another meeting, and I figured, well, we won't have gotten to it by 7:30.
We are flying through this
So,
meeting.
George, I guess you get to fill in. And I just would like, maybe George, can you just talk about these two different financings, just real briefly? And then the other thing is that update on the interest rate would be helpful. And then Joe, after that, if there's anything you want to add or whatever.
Well, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. First of all, congratulations on, making it through the process with USDA and to your engineer and other consultants that worked through that period of paperwork. And if Lori were here, I think that what she would say is something to the effect that what you're getting or what you've been, what you're hoping to get approved for project financing looks virtually the same. The first $450,000 that's referenced, or actually it's your second resolution, the $450,000 note is one that it's nice to have in your overall project financing. That you don't need to provide your general obligation backing for. The other, the $2,450,000, if you recall several times that I stood here and we talked about a public hearing and capital improvement plan bonds, since you're putting a general obligation pledge behind that portion, you needed to go through and prepare a capital improvement plan, hold a public hearing, and allow time for public comment. So the culmination of that is your overall project financing. I actually have been running numbers for you based upon older interest rates, which seems so high right now, 3.625, 3 5/8% used to be the interest rate for overall project financing. And it's my understanding now that 2.875% is what you're potentially looking at to lock in for an interest rate. So that's a terrific rate because what we're talking about is a 40-year financing. And so the ability to lock in that type of an interest rate is terrific. I just was looking back at, okay, what does that differential mean to the city? It's, about $16,000 per year difference due to that interest rate drop. So that's, again, based upon comparing older interest rates with USDA compared to present. So that's my update. Later on, several months from now, once project construction begins, that's where I'll come back and talk about construction financing. And that would be on the entire financing amount that you need. So, but for tonight's purposes, I believe that, again, approving these resolutions would be a smart, certain thing to accept that type of financing rates and terms with USDA. Any questions that I can address, Mark or Mayor?
I don't know if you, I guess you referenced the interest rate. The USDA rural development interest rate for FY, it's basically 2017, which April 1st, after April 1st, has gone down from about 3.25 to 2.8. Now, this is it's kind of a complex, mechanism, the way this is set up, but the city can proceed under the FY 2016, which is the higher interest rate, or we can wait until, and we're really waiting because it shouldn't really change the review that's going on right now, or the engineering architecture review. That stuff is still going to go on at the same schedule, but if we encumber after April 1st, we get the lower interest rate. Now, kind of the hook is the textbook way that this is done is that you wait until a city or county or whoever borrows from rural development, can be townships, would basically wait until everything is approved, lock, stock, and barrel, and you got this final award letter and all this stuff. But because of the timing of this and the fact that we want to try to get this project bid as early as we can of what's left of this year, is that we would do the advertise for bids, just like we've got in the schedule. But we would do that after, there's 2 reviews that go on. One of them is the financial underwriting, which is like the loan, the bond. And the other one is for the architecture and the engineering, or the architecture plan review. So those are 2 different reviews by 2 different offices of rural development. One's in Kansas City, that's the loan underwriting, bond underwriting, and the other one is in Minneapolis, St. Paul. So we can go to bids, we can't go to bids until for sure after the architecture review is done, because they could make changes to things, you know, usually they're gonna be little things here and there, but it just wouldn't make any sense for us to, and actually I don't think they would, that would be a red flag with them. Now, as far as the other part of it goes, we've come to the conclusion that we can advertise as long as we don't award the bid before we get that award letter. That's the crucial thing, and it's taken us how many weeks to get from rural development from just to get kind of an answer on this. But it's really the award letter, as long as we don't award the contract until after we have that, you know, award letter, they do the, you know, whatever Joe, but I'll just call award letter for, you know, lack of a better description right now. That is, we don't want to do the award, you know, we don't want to award the contract until that, we have that thing all done. But we can advertise, and even if the bid date closes, usually there's going to be 60 to 90 days that the city has to formally award the bid. We've done them with street projects recently. The wastewater project was 90 days when, you know, back in 2012 or 13 when that was awarded. There was a 90-day period after, you know, the bids were open that the city had to award the bid. So this will be structured similarly, so there should be plenty of time between the time that the bids are open and the time they're awarded. And obviously, you know, we would tell the council to approve any award until we know that this is approved from, and I mean the underwriting part of it. So, but in order to keep this thing on some semblance of a track to get started here yet, you know, this summer, we really need to keep the bid process moving ahead and keep the advertising going. I mean, I think we were talking about originally starting advertising in April, and now we're talking about 2 to 3 weeks later in order to get the architecture review done by USDA. So we kind of hate to see it go longer than that, but anyway, Joe, go ahead.
Well, yeah, and Mark has explained fairly well that there really are the 2 tracks from the USDA that we've got to go through. We've got to go through the plan review and approval, which happens in St. Paul. And that has to happen before the plans are ready to be released to plan holders for consideration of bidding. But then there's also the financial application. And that has to go through the underwriting here at the state of Minnesota, and then it has to be shipped to the regional office in Kansas City for review. And what our specialist lawyer Galata has told us from USDA is that can take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. Sometimes it comes back as quickly as 4 weeks, but the typical window is 6 to 8 weeks. And she's given us a memo, she gave Mark and I a memo tonight that she was going to review with the council on the application status. You recall we went through stage 1 of the application back in December. We're just wrapping up stage 2 of the application now, and that's what she's referring to. She says the application, stage 2, has had a review at the state office. There's a few minor adjustments that are required. We're going to get those resolved here in the next handful of days. But then the next steps will be that we need to pass these 2 resolutions that you're considering tonight, and then the city attorney has to complete the opinion of title on the property where you're going to be building the fire station. Once those 3 things are done and the state review is done, she can prepare what's called a letter of conditions, which is essentially the agreement between USDA and the city that outlines the terms that you're going to use for the project. That's where the description of the interest rate comes in. If we sign off on that letter of condition before April 1st, we're locking in at the current interest rate, which is about 3.2%. If we sign off on that letter of conditions after April 1st, we can get the lower interest rate of 2.8% roughly. And the anticipated difference between those two is roughly $5,000 to $5,500 per year. So over a 40-year loan, that's $200,000 in savings. What we're hoping is that we can get everything lined up so that she can get the letter of conditions prepared, and we can schedule a meeting with the city to review that on April 1st, the day that the new interest rate clicks in. So passing the resolutions tonight, and then the other thing we'd ask from council is that with the resolutions being passed, that you would authorize the mayor and the city administrator to sign the letter of conditions on behalf of the city. That will allow Lori Olata from USDA, once that letter is ready and the interest rate kicks in on April 1st, to simply meet with the mayor and the administrator rather than having to call a special council meeting to get the letter reviewed. So we'll review that letter, sign off on it. At that point, then, it all goes on to Kansas City. So approximately April 1st is when that would get turned into Kansas City. That starts their review process, which typically, according to her, takes 6 to 8 weeks. Now, we're anticipating the plans are going to be in St. Paul next week, and we should have a review and approval on those sometime in the middle of April. So we can have council approval on those by the end of April. So from the plan standpoint, we'll be ready to advertise by the end of April. But from the financing application, we won't be ready to, because that'll still be in process at Kansas City. By law, we're required to advertise for 21 days for the project, for the bids. So what we're going to do is we're going to utilize that 21-day and run it concurrently with the Kansas City review. USDA's recommendation would be that we don't do any action until we get the official letter back from Kansas City. However, based on discussions we've had between the administrator and the city attorney and myself and others, we feel there's very little risk to the city at least running this 21-day advertising period concurrent with the review at Kansas City. The plans will have been approved already. We'll know the plans aren't changing. We're just simply waiting for the approval of the financing through USDA at Kansas City. And it's very easy for the city to, if there is a hiccup and the review takes longer in Kansas City, it's very easy for us to either delay the bids, or, as Mark indicated, we can take the bids and simply hold them until Kansas City comes back with their approval. So that's really the process we're on. So at this point, we can't estimate a solid bid date for the project because it depends on how quickly we get the letter of conditions completed and things down to Kansas City and how quick they turn it around. We have, a kind of an open-ended time frame right now, where kind of a window that we're looking at. But I think the point is that we want to try and make sure these things run concurrently as much as we can, so that we can reduce that time frame that it takes before we can actually get to bids.
Or an actual award.
Correct. Correct. We'll have to. There's really, the bidding process is really the 3 steps. There's the advertising, then there's the actual acceptance of the bids, and then there's the award of the contract. So I think there's very little, well, essentially no problem in advertising for the 21-day period, just simply putting it out for advertisement, because the city still has complete control to delay that bid date or even cancel the project if something were to come up, something catastrophic. When we get to the point where we're approaching the bid date, that's where we'll have to decide, are we ready to actually accept the bids, or do we want to, by addendum, push the bid date back 5 days or 7 days while we give Kansas City a little more time. Hopefully by then, maybe we'll be getting some feedback from them on how close their review is. So we'll have the ability to have conversations and make those decisions as we come to each decision point, each milestone in the process. But I think for now, the consideration for tonight, the resolutions, these are necessary for the application to be sent to Kansas City when we reach that point. And they're necessary for USDA for Lori Bellotta here at the regional office in Faribault to be able to prepare that letter of conditions. So they're essentially boilerplate resolutions prepared by USDA, just filled in simply with the city of Kenyon's name, the anticipated dollar amounts, and really it authorizes the mayor and the city administrator then to meet with the representative, Lori Bellotta, and review and sign off on the other conditions once prepared. So I know it's a lot of information. Certainly be glad to try and answer any questions that you may have.
If we get really fortunate with the bids, and it comes in less, are these both reduced, or is it just one of these?
I believe, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but
The bigger
way,
one is.
yeah,
Bigger. Yeah.
450 stays the
the,
big one.
yeah, the way USDA works is we have to actually expend the funds first, and then we have to document the expense to USDA, and they pay us back afterwards. And that's what George had referenced, that we'll have interim construction financing that we'll be talking about when we get to that one. But when USDA loans us the money, they'll loan us on the $450,000, the small one first, because that's the one that's done through promissory note and doesn't require your GO back. Once that one's maxed out to the capacity of 450, then they'll kick into the funding under the GO resolution, which is one that can go up to 2.45 million. But the actual amount will be the actual.
It'll be less.
Yeah, but it'll be the actual amount. Think of it like they obligate the funds for you and set them aside, but you only draw out what you actually need.
Yes.
Because you have to document the
A
expenditures.
drawing
Yeah.
account, as the money is spent, then the final amount of the loan is whatever the actual total ends up being.
Yep, and then that's what you're obligated to repay.
Has council looked at these two resolutions and?
I, Mayor and members, I spoke with Julie Eddington earlier today about the documents, and although our office did not draft the actual resolutions in your packet, they're form documents, and it's our understanding that the required public hearing and 5-year CIP improvement plan was discussed and approved by the council back in the fall, which are requirements for this action. And our office is in the process of preparing the related bond documents. So it's our understanding that things are in order to move forward.
Based on discussion with USDA too, I don't think they would accept any requested language changes in their documents. I think they
No,
would,
no.
at that point, they would say that they wouldn't be willing to move forward with the paperwork to Kansas City, so.
And I won't say that I didn't have a conversation with Joe about, are we supposed to submit these to bond council, because, their USDA forms are USDA forms, and that's pretty much it, but anyway, obviously.
So, taking them in order, do we have a motion to accept resolution 2016-09?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Do we have a motion to accept resolution 2016-10?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Wonderful. This meeting may set a record on shortest average. Let's do it.
Was it John making the motion?
Yes.
Other business, we have schedule of upcoming meetings.
City council meeting should be April and not March.
Yes, it should.
I wonder if I got anything right.
Most things.
That's funny how that works.
But yes, April, that is the 8th.
12.
No, 12th. Well, yes, there we go. And city council meeting Tuesday, April 12th at 7 p.m. And Board of Equalization Thursday, April 7th at 5 p.m. I know that sounds correct. Council and staff general comments.
Pass.
I anticipate there probably will have to be a work session later in the month. But I'll put that together. Maybe a couple things, including this project that will, for the fire hall project. Possibly first quarter. A couple other things. So, I'll keep everybody posted though.
John? Right.
Nope.
No, Pam doesn't have any comment. Maybe she could want to go
Gonna
home.
make it up some minute.
Yeah.
Joe?
No, I don't know if we're still expecting or allowed to attend the meeting.
Well,
Past
if- I was just
7:30
saying,
and, you can come to the after party.
Well, I just, to note that, given the resolutions, clause 17, right, it's written right in clause 17 that the mayor and city administrator are hereby authorized and empowered to take all action necessary
Yes.
in the execution of all written instruments. So that,
Right.
these, they
Didn't
do
need to
provide
be
the
a
ability to.
separate add-on, it was already in.
Correct, yeah, so we should be set, once we get the title opinion from the city attorney's office, and Lori has a lot of conditions prepared, we should be ready to have that meeting as soon as the new interest rate comes into place.
Good. Melissa? Is your only comment? Well, she's getting with us. And that's my only comment. So, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Can I ask a question? How do I obtain copies of the RFPs for the garbage and like minutes to the work session meeting?
Yeah, we could get copies of the RFP to you. And then, as far as the minutes go, the minutes have not been approved yet for that. So once they're approved, I can get copies of them, but that won't be till April council meeting.
We can just email those to you if you can give us your email address.
Okay.
So, once again.
Yes, I move that we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
That's the front loader? Like it or?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It'd be really different, I guess. Yeah? Really? I was talking to someone, I forget who it was, but they said you gotta make sure you don't break the windshield out of it? Is that a possibility?
Come down and don't have it right in the air. Catch
Wheels catch it?
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
Really?
Extend that to.
I still have.
Your wife get everything figured out? Or she likes it here?
Yeah.
Does she get on?
Yes.
You will more now. It's getting nice.
I know.
That's quite the question. Do you let her go outside? once a day.
I don't know if you went out and explored the town. Oh, sure, you
Get your
know.
driver's license.
Well, that's what, yeah. See,
I suppose you gotta start from square one, I guess.
Yeah.
See, now you're understanding my conversation. That's right.
Now it sounds better. Now it doesn't sound so How's the Florida work?
Part of the is now.
It is? I seen you there a few days. I thought one day, oh, maybe I'll just work out a little bit.
Mine was gone for a week.
Bad or?
Yeah,
What happened? Yeah, I'd get mine towed to Rochester before Christmas. Almost blew it up.
Is that a big bill then? On the way down there?
It's pretty nice. Good experience.
Rick's still smiling about it.
Good to experience once, not twice.
Why'd you go way down there? Was there anything around?
It was over Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah, nowhere else was open. And I wanted it running on Monday, and still didn't happen.
Okay. So like, they probably learn like
Yeah, because after Saturday trash, on my way home, it was chugging deep. Ran cones for it. And the guy says if I dare drive it down, there's a good chance I was going to blow it up on the way down. I wasn't pumping any fuel into it, and I pumped too much.
Stewards to the rest.
Yup. Who was it? Kevin? Kai. Younger. Yup. Yeah, he got there with Kenworth one. Got there, got it all hooked up. We're gonna hook the air up to it. He blew an airbag out of his truck. He couldn't hold air, so we had to unhook everything again. I brought it home, so it was nice to hook up and stuff. And he went and met a guy in a C-store or something. And swapped out for international. That was terrible.
Yeah, it happens. Tow truck breakdown.
It's not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
some tow truck was kind of close to the celebration today.
Oh, there.
I got the green
Yeah,
and
red
still going
ones.
through and I'm like, oh man, it's got a long day. Oh, my battery.
Yeah.
Who was that guy who said something about RFPs?
Well, I think that generally,
Yeah.
Part of this guy.
Yeah.
yeah, already, I've seen her before. Say hi to your wife. I will, thank you. All right.
Did you go to the Mellow? Did
Yeah.
It's only
Well,
like
you're trying
the
to.
second one I've been to. That was just said and gone. I know if that's what it was or not. I take it by that guy because I'm too impressed by said and done. That's what
Yeah.
Yeah,
We usually get there, like,
yeah.
then old hometown smaller Dodge Center people were here.
The drama.
That Vance guy was here.
Somebody wants to get,
So
years ago. Then we're out of luck.
I'm missing one.
Well, that's great.
I don't know what they rebid it. They're doing a shitty job. I think they let them rebid. That's why they're getting rid of them. I think they kind of, when they're ending the contract, it's just going to be pretty. Was there?
I did that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I like that. Well, you don't have to, you're the one that's locked in the office all the time.
Well,
You don't
I
get
got
let
to
out.
like, I'm
Oh, so you are free. Your time driving around town a little bit.
Yeah.
And then so you're
I'm
gonna
gonna tell Jay, some guy was picking up.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
Is that Casey's ever empty? Oh, every time I drive by. I'm talking to someone else who lived in town, he thought, well, they could open another one in the end of town, and they both show all day. How they do it.
And I wanted to make sure that.
It's gonna go in over by Cannon Auto, we'll rip that one down now.
They're trying to put up a new hotel.
Hotel. Like a different one or tear one down?
Yeah.
Where at? Don't know.
Yeah.